Let's go.
Welcome back to The Insights, brought to you by FWERC. I'm Shabana Hassan, your host for today. For today's episode, we will be discussing on a topic that holds profound significance in the lives of many couples in Malaysia: money and marriage. Research highlights that financial difficulties are the leading cause of marital conflicts. In a study, 37% of married individuals found themselves to be dissatisfied with their first 2 years of marriage, with financial challenges emerging as the primary source of tension between couples. This issue is further emphasized by concerns among JAKIM officials about husbands failing to fulfill their obligations to provide nafaqah, creating household stress. The effect is rather evident as we are seeing a surge in divorce rates in Malaysia, an increase of 43% in 2022 from 2021. To provide us with a more insightful view, I have here with me today an expert in both the Sharia and civil law. She is a Shari'i lawyer in both Federal Territories and Selangor States, as well as an advocate and solicitor of High Court of Malaya. Assalamualaikum Puan Majda.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullah.
Thank you very much for being with us today at The Insights.
Most welcome.
How are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much. Well, Puan, as I've mentioned earlier, right, we are seeing a significant increase in the divorce rates in Malaysia. If we look back at the data, in 2021, we have 43,936 divorce cases. But in just within a year, we have a surge of 43%, an increase of 43% from 43,936 to 62,890 just within a year, Puan. So if we look, right, I believe this increment of almost more than a half, almost a half, right, about 50%, is considered very alarming, very concerning. So, Puan, as someone who has been dealing with this on a daily basis as a Shari'i lawyer, what are the factors that actually lead to such a high rate of divorce cases in Malaysia? Please.
Before I begin to elaborate on the factors, since your data is looking at the current issue, i.e. 2023 to 2024, right?
2021 to 2022.
Okay, the surging in number is reflected for 2023, correct?
Okay.
So on that regard, we are going to the post-pandemic situation, whereby as a practicing Shari'i lawyer, during the pandemic where everybody was locked down and having the depression issue, anxiety issue, some of my clients in reality facing that during that particular period where they don't have the avenue to channel their stress, grief and problem in their marriage, since it was a lockdown period. Once the MCO was lifted at that particular moment, the surging in number of people filing random in divorce, maintenance in Sharia court was alarming. So in essence, I agree with the statement. I agree with the data provided by JAKIM, and as someone on the field, I myself experienced it with my own clients during those periods. So I would say the most alarming, the triggering factor at that particular moment was post-pandemic.
So the post-pandemic is actually one of the main factors that leads to the very high divorce cases in 2022.
Divorce and also maintenance claim. Because you have to understand where I came from my client's perspective and point of view, when they are also divorce parties and they would like to exercise on the claiming on the maintenance, which in fact involving financial issues. So both divorce and maintenance claim.
All right. Talking about financial issues here, Puan, as I've mentioned at the introduction earlier, financial challenges leads to potential marital conflicts, even leads to marital conflicts. Yeah.
All right.
So these differences in terms of financial between the couples can actually impact relationship satisfaction because partners may have varying attitudes toward money and spending.
Correct.
Right? So some couples, to an extent, even though they are married, but they are not sharing their financial stories or debt burdens towards each other.
I would agree.
Yes. So based on your experience, Puan, as a Syari'i lawyer, is it true that financial challenges are a primary factor of marital conflicts amongst the young couples nowadays?
Okay. If the statement, the question is to zoom on the financial and the young couples, I can agree limited to that statement because I would come to that point later. But as what the data that I had and my personal involvement on the field, the most compelling reason was not on the financial as the cause. It's more on the effect. The cause would be on the irreconcilable and incompatibility between the parties. So incompatibility and irreconcilable comes from a wide range or spectrum of ages, not just youth. But coming back to the current issue at hand, when it comes to incompatibility and irreconcilability as a cause, the effect would lead to financial issue. So coming back also to the youth situation where when they started their marriage life at a very early stage, meaning let's say about 20 to 25 years old, they are young and they are adjusting to the lifestyle of each other. Sometimes the gap between the age, for example, between 20 would be the wife and the husband is 30 years old. So they come from a different bracket of age. That is one of the factors. Second, they come from different backgrounds. For example, the current trend would be labeling the society like T20, M20 and B40.
Yes.
So it got nothing to do with discriminating the level of B20, 40, T20 and M20. But where I'm coming from is where you have the differences in terms of upbringing. That would be the second factor to the constraint, to the difficulty in adjusting, and the third factor would be, like I said earlier, the post-pandemic jobless issue from someone who before this they have steady income, but because of the pandemic. So what I'm trying to say, to recap the whole thing, the first would be the age gap between the couple themselves, marrying from someone from 20 years old to 30 years old gap, the age gap. The second would come under the upbringing,
yes.
Correct. And the last but not least, we cannot take that factor because we are basing on the data post-pandemic. So I think it would be fair if we put into a hypothesis, should there is no pandemic, maybe the number of like almost 50%, like you said just now, will not come into place. So that would be my conclusion. Three factors.
Okay, as mentioned by you, Puan, we have the different brackets of age as one of the main factor, followed by the upbringing and also the pandemic.
Correct.
Right? Okay, let's go to the ground with your experience as a Syari'i lawyer, right? With you looking at the couples, young couples out there, what kind of financial challenges are they experiencing that leads them to ended up in divorce?
Okay. On this regard, I'm in agreement with one of the news that I pick up from YB Hannah Teo, where she's for the youth ministers. One of the article in the news that I pick up where parties, the young couple are wasting their resources and their money on celebrating the wedding reception. That will leave a huge impact because once you are not able to secure, the young couple themselves, we understand, fresh graduate, what will be the average rate of salary that, if let's say they are looking at the executive level, they are not yet at the professional level. So when you talk about from someone with the basic income, wanting to be in trend with the viral on the having a gigantic wedding reception. So they end up, if let's say they are not the father-mother sponsorship, they will end up going for the personal loan.
So before entering into marriage, they have already entered into debt.
Correct.
Right? Yes.
So that is also one of the triggering factor on the issue where they have this kind of financial constraint, unnecessary burden. But sometimes must come from the POV of the young couple. They want it to be very minimal because they know already they wanted to have a simple reception, but the intervention from the family members, I wouldn't put into harsh word, but the reality hits when the interference from the parents, one side or both sides, they say, oh, we want to put into an invitation to the VVIPs and all. And they look at the young couple, since this is your marriage, you find the money.
Usually we always hear of peer pressure, but in this situation it's family pressure, yeah?
Yes, that should be one of the factors.
This is very interesting. But unfortunately, we have to go through a commercial break. More discussion with Puan Majda right after this.
Let's go! Let's go!
Welcome back to The Insights, brought to you by FEWRC. In the first segment, we have been shown with statistics of divorce cases in Malaysia. And we have also talked about the common causes of divorce, especially between young couples. Well, Puan, my question to you, right? As you mentioned earlier, one of the main causes that lead to divorce is actually financial instability. And one of the main reasons is also because before these young couples, before they got married, they already ended up in debt because they are using their finances to prepare for the wedding.
Correct.
Right, Puan? So my question to you, Puan, based on your experience, because I understand that financial stability is an important criteria in a marriage to ensure the marriage can run smoothly and successfully.
Correct.
So based on your experience as a Syari'i lawyer, usually couples that getting married nowadays in Malaysia, are they financially ready before they get married? What do you think?
Okay. Based from my own observation to the clients, either they came to me to consult on the registration of marriage, or they came to me to consult on whether they should get divorced. So, pro and cons. From that, what I can observe is that if we are looking at the bracket age of 35 and above, finance is not an issue that much. That's where we approach to the situation where they are at the level of applying for polygamy. But the problem starts when I can see to the young couple, sometimes they came to me with their parents. What I also can further observe, when they came to me for a consultation and advice with the parents, that show that they are still depending on their parents to financially and all aspects. In terms of running their life towards ahead with their future spouse. So that is something not good. But some of them, they can come to me for advice, whether they are stable enough or whether they can embark into this, and what are the process and procedural that they should consider. Because there are some cases where why this young couple came to me for an advice in a case where there is a wali enggan. Wali enggan situation is where they want to get married without the father's consent. So in that kind of isolated situation, I will always go, are you ready enough? What would be your future plan? What would be your forecasted nafaqah for your wife? So these are life issues that I had advised, or I am currently advising. And what I can observe is that when two things that I can observe. When the young couples come to me for an advice with the parents, to me, I would just say, you go and discuss further. Don't simply unnecessarily, I would put this way, put the other human in your incapability to lead a family.
So can I say this point? Generally, the young couples, when they come to you, they will come with their parents. Does this mean that when they come with their parents, they are very much dependent on their parents, both financially and emotionally? What are your views on this?
I would say sometimes they came with their parents because the parents happens to be my previous client.
I see.
So one situation. There are also situations where they come when they came with their parents because to get the financial and emotional support. That part I would just say whether to what extent the parents' involvement in rather than dictating. So if it is dictating, then I will not to say brush them off, but give a sane advice to say that look, if you want to inculcate something to your parents and dictating their life, this should not be the way. You should not start this. The reason being, I will put one scenario to them that I said, I have handled where it's not even a year marriage, a young couple, and the divorce took place within less than a year due to the parents' dictation.
Parental involvement, yeah. So family pressure plays a very important role in a young couple's marital
from
conflicts,
my observation,
right?
from my experience.
So apart from family pressure, because usually we always hear of peer pressure, we rarely hear of family pressure. So apart from family pressure playing a role in a young couple's marital conflicts, what are the other typical factors that often lead to marital conflicts among the young couples?
Okay. It's interestingly enough, we thought that the highest number of percentage in terms of factors that often lead to marital conflicts would be infidelity, but apparently it's not. It is more towards, that's why I begin myself, the statement earlier was whether it was a cause or effect. So the main factor that caused to the marital discord or divorces, the highest percentage comes from or emanates from incompatibility and irreconcilable between the parties. And the list goes on, such as infidelity. Everybody wants to hear about that, right? And gossiping about the infidelity. Irresponsible husband for the gender, for the wife. And as for the woman, it will be more on involvement in in-laws. And also polygamy, among others, percentage. And the last but not least, the financial. But what we are here today is to emphasize more on the financial.
The importance of financial.
So my observation is some of the incompatibility and irreconcilability among the parties, effect, comes from financial issue.
And all of this, Puan, if not properly taken care of, will eventually lead to divorce.
Correct.
Right? And we've heard of many cases where divorces turn nasty, ugly.
Correct.
So my question to you, Puan, what are the possible consequences that may arise following a divorce? What to expect, especially from financial aspect?
Okay. From the financial aspect, when we talk about consequences, definitely it sounds like it is bad divorce after a bad marriage. So I would like to emphasize from two points of view, from the man and from a woman. I mean, for a husband and a wife. So we go with the women first. The most pressing issue is because during the marriage, she opted not to work, unemployed, depending 100% on the husband to maintain her and her lifestyle. So once divorce sets in, that would be the major stumbling block for any women to opt for divorce, or if, let's say, has been divorced, they will have to struggle in terms of how to raise their children if the woman has children from the marriage, and also to financially sustain herself if there is no support from her parents. So that would be from the bad consequences in the event the women themselves did not work during the marriage. But as for the man, the factor on that is a bit not on financial issue. It is more on, from my observation, it is more on towards their personality, depressed, anxiety, and having a revenge towards the ex-wives. So it is more on the emotional part that are put bad consequences to men. So on financial part, it's more towards imperative to the women,
so the consequences that are faced by both women and men generally after divorce are quite different, yeah, Puan?
Correct.
Yeah, women are much related to financial burden.
Especially for the unemployed ones.
Yes, understand. Yeah. Especially when their ex-husbands refuse to pay nafaqah.
Correct.
And they are the ones who are looking after the children.
Correct.
While on the other hand, the men their consequences are more related to emotional, right? They feel anger, they feel
Depressed,
traumatized,
correct.
anxiety.
Correct.
Yeah, so how can we try to address this, especially for the women when it comes to financial issues? How can we, like, just briefly, how can we address this for them?
Okay. My advice, my very advice is for women, please, once you got married, you never get yourself unemployed. Retain as a career woman. That would be it.
Thank you very much, Puan. More discussion after this. Thank you very much for your insightful discussion with us. We will come back right after the commercial break.
Let's go. Let's go.
Welcome back to The Insights, brought to you by FEWRC. Thank you very much, Puan, for still being here with us today.
Welcome.
All right, Puan, as we have discussed previously in the earlier segment, young couples are still very much dependent on their family from many aspects, be it financial, economic, social, or even emotional, right? So my question to you, Puan, if usually couples, when they want to get married in Malaysia, it is compulsory for them to actually undergo a physical health evaluation, right?
Yes.
So in your view, do you agree that it is actually the similar importance should be given towards young couples to actually discuss their finances and also assess their financial well-being before they decide to get married?
Yes, without hesitation, to answer to your question. In a sense that I always believe in the notion that a marriage should start with pure honesty and full and frank disclosure. But on a different note from that observation and notion, I also make my own observation and research from the data supplied by the Malaysian Department of Insolvency, where the rate of bankrupt people, especially in the year 2023, are quite alarming. We are talking about post-pandemic again, that one factor. And according to the data that I got, the range of the young people who are adjudged bankrupt, surprisingly, based on the data, from 2019 to 2023 are decreasing. But when we look at 25 years old to 34, the numbers are rising. And the pattern in terms of gender, men are more adjudged bankrupts as compared to the women. Yes.
Right? So my question to you, Puan, so from a stakeholder perspective, how can they actually better financially equip young couples before they tie their knot in marriage?
Okay. From the data again I got and also my experiences dealing with religious department on state-to-state basis. Okay, coming to that. Before I begin with further comments on that, something that the society needs to understand in Malaysia landscape, when it comes to family matters, personal matters, is state-to-state basis. So we are dealing with each state pejabat agama or religious department, and they have their own Sharia court system, whereby when any party which wishes to, including the young couple, they want to apply for registration of marriage, and or the consequences would be the registration of divorce, application for divorce, they have to go through these channels. So as being invited, I'm honored anyway, thanks to AKPK today for inviting me as one of the speaker for the program. I would like to suggest, being one of the government agency, there should be a collaborative effort between the AKPK with the pejabat agama or jabatan kehakiman for each state, rather than only channeling to JAKIM in terms of improving the checklisting in their marriage registration and divorce issues. And this collaborative effort will actually enhance in terms of reforming the existing SOP, checklist, policies, and whatever they can actually come to a consensus.
And this can be initiated by AKPK, Puan?
Can, it should be. Because when, as far as my part is concerned, when I deal with the pejabat agama, they do have, and they in fact have the websites where you can reach, the public can reach. It's just in terms of making it accessible, informative, and nowadays everything is about digital, and it is about online technology. So this is something that AKPK should consider, put into one of the portfolio, and liaise it not just on with the JAKIM but respective state authorities. Because when it comes to family matters, it falls under the jurisdiction of the states.
Yes.
So that should be on the stakeholder roles. AKPK joining forces with pejabat agama, and as far as the law is concerned, as someone who is practicing the law, as it is, we have quite protective regime available for the parties who wishes to challenge their seeking for remedy and relief. So we have no issue in terms of law, but we are going to the current issue at hand, where the stakeholder should be a collaborative effort, and also involving more up-to-date approaches to the public, so that the SOP, the policies, like what we're having today, more reachable to the grassroots, to the public.
Yeah. So I think the issue right now is because this is under the state jurisdiction.
Correct.
Yes, and one of the way to address this is through collaborative efforts between AKPK and all the relevant agencies. Yeah, Puan?
You are correct.
Okay, thank you very much, very much for all your insightful discussion with us today. Before we end today's episode, I would like you to share some advice or any important points or key takeaways with the audience, especially for the young couples, so that they can get themselves prepared before they get married.
Okay, thank you, Puan. I would like to suggest to the young couple and the youth out there, before entering into a sanctity relationship, these are from my observation to you and my honest advice, that before you embark into a relationship, especially marriage, understand the obligation, duties, responsibilities of a marriage. Number 2, be honest, frank, and truthful about yourself to the future spouse. Number 3, decide and proceed to get married not just because of love. Love alone is not enough. Number 4, prepare mentally, spiritually, that once you decide to marry someone of a different gap, for example, you come from this family and her upbringing would be different. Once you decide on that, please emphasize on tolerance and consideration. Marriage is about communication, tolerance, and give and take. Number 5, never ever get married out of peer pressure, family dictation, or because you feel so, just to follow the trend. You don't do that. Number 6, plan your finances and priority, and as partners, not in silo. So don't ever become too calculative or too lenient in roles of financial contribution. Communication is the key. Focus on important expenditure after marriage. For example, house, vehicle, food, insurance, children's, nafaqah. All of this must be taken into perspective before you want to get married. I'm lost for words now. It's like the next point would be, learn from your family's bad experiences. Say that you come from a divorced parent. Learn from them. Take cognizance on what happened in the past. Don't repeat it with your spouse. And last but not least, please practice this a lot of dua. Dua that has been inculcated in our Al-Quran, and that has been repeatedly practiced by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And pray this: Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbana hablana min azwajina wa zurriyatina qurratan a'yunin waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. In a sense that once you pray this dua, you pray that you will get good spouse, good lineage, good qurratun ayn goes to the children. And once you have this dua, and once you have the preparation, you put your faith and belief and rada to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once you do all of this, inshallah, Allah will guide your way through. That will be all part.
Thank you very much, Puan Majda Muda, for all of your very extremely insightful advices. And we hope that this can be used as an important platform, for the younger generations to take a look at, to ponder upon before they decide to get married. And hopefully this can be used as a useful tips for them to sustain in their marriage. Thank you very much for being with us today. We are very much grateful for having you with our episode on marriage and money.
Welcome.
All right, before we conclude today's episode, there are a few key takeaways that we would like to share with our audience here. First, understand the obligation, duties, and responsibilities of a marriage. Second, be honest, frank, and provide full disclosure about ourselves to the future spouse. And third, plan your finances and priority as partners, not in silos. Don't become too calculative or too lenient in our roles of financial contribution. With that, thank you for watching The Insights, and let's meet again in the next episode. I'm Shabana Hassan. Assalamualaikum.
Let's go.